This week on Quality Digest Live, we chat with Randy Groover of the Coordinate Metrology Society about the group's brand new certification for measurement professionals.
Plus, why delivering quality while ignoring value is really a losing proposition. That and more when we come back.
Welcome back to Quality Digest Live for April 19th, 2013. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making the news in the world of quality. I'm Mike Richmond, publisher of Quality Digest.
And I'm Quality Digest editor-in-chief, Dirk Ducharme.
So, well, what? Dirk?
Yes?
Before you get into your news story.
Oh, yes.
We have Randy Groover is going to be with us here in a few moments to talk about the Coordinate Metrology Society's new certification program.
That's a personal certification for portable 3D measurement. Make sure you're up to snuff in your skills.
So what I want to encourage you all to do right now is prepare your questions. We're only going to have Randy for about 8 minutes. So if you want to ask Randy a question about this, if you're interested in certification for portable coordinate metrology systems personnel, write us now at QDL@qualitydigest.com and we'll get it on the air.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, so imagine driving from San Francisco to New York in a 3D printed car using just 10 gallons of biofuel. 10 gallons of biofuel to cross the United States. Well, it's not crazy and it is not science fiction. It's what Jim Core and the team at Winnipeg, Manitoba-based Core Ecologic wants to do in 2015. You may have heard about Core's company back in 2010 when its first printed car, 3D printed car, the RB1, made the news, at least tech news anyway. And in fact, I think our own Taryn March in a story on 3D printing actually covered the RB1 in there. Well, now they are hot at work developing the RB2. Now this is an amazing car. The RB2 is going to be made up of 40 to 50 body panels and bumpers and so forth that are 3D printed. It's a serial parallel hybrid with a small diesel engine. I think it's 5 horsepower at 2200 RPM. Highway speeds, travels at about 70 miles per hour. And the amazing thing is that all these panels, including the large panels, are 3D printed on a Stratasys 3D printer. And I think we actually have a picture of the RB next to a Stratasys printer. Yep, there we are. And you can see you got the RB there in the foreground, and the Stratasys printer is right behind it. And notice that the printer itself is basically about the same size as the car that it's printed. Now keep in mind that the advantage of that is that what Core is envisioning is that in the future, we're not going to be talking about just 3D printing prototypes. We're really talking about full-on 3D printing for production. And what Core envisions in the future, and we'll get back to the RB2 in just one second, what Core envisions is that in the future, you're going to have maybe a large manufacturing facility with a bunch of 3D printers in it that are 3D printing the key components for your car. So, as we mentioned, this is the RB2, which is going to cross the United States. It's a series parallel hybrid, small diesel engine. I think I said 5 horsepower at 2200 RPM. I was looking, when I was mowing my lawn yesterday, my 4-stroke engine on my lawnmower is 6 horsepower. We are literally talking an engine that is basically a lawnmower engine.
Not even.
Not even. And it will reach highway speeds of 70 miles per hour with an assist, obviously, from the electric engines that are also tied into this. This is a hybrid. And the plan is to cross the United States without ever refueling, not recharging. So we're not going to plug in and recharge the batteries. It's purely using the hybrid system and 10 gallons of fuel. And that's the goal. According to computer modeling, it should be doable.
300 miles per gallon.
290 is what they're modeling that, and so you know, Core is saying they're really going to have to kind of tease it along. I mean, they're going to have to be judicious in how they do this, but it really does seem to be a possibility. But the main takeaway on this is not as 3D printing, not for prototyping, but really for full-on production. And one of the reasons for that is you can print things in 3D that you can't really make any other way. And as Core says, once you open up that possibility that you can make literally anything, then design possibilities really take off at that point. So interesting stuff.
That's incredible. I mean, it's a great story, you know, and you think about this. This is an imperative, really. I mean, you know, given the situation now with gas prices and oil, and hey, you know, oil is a limited resource, and this is a
this is pretty cool.
Pretty interesting stuff there.
Two-seater, by the way.
Two-seater. Well, eventually they'll have a limo.
It's not your SUV, but yeah. All right.
All right. Well, also in the news this week, today, in fact, is the CIO Peer Forum organized by Gartner, the information technology research and advisory company. The forum began yesterday and is concluding today in Edmonton, Alberta. Wow,
another Canadian story.
A lot of Canadian news today. Wow, this is great.
Hey, you guys up there.
Earlier this week, we ran an interview from Gartner Research Vice President Hung Lee Hong, who previewed the forum and revealed some of the emerging trends and technologies of which chief information officers need to be aware. Two of the particularly disruptive and innovative technologies mentioned by Lee Hong are certainly familiar to you, all of us here, because we've covered them repeatedly on the show. And I'm speaking, of course, about the Internet of Things and the emergence of big data. A couple of really, I mean, for CIOs, for chief information officers, I'm sure they're already thinking very much about this stuff.
Particularly big data.
Yeah, big data is a huge issue. Well, let's start with the Internet of Things. Okay. As Lee Hong defines it, the Internet of Things provides web interfaces and linkages through physical assets such as cars or city infrastructures, so that these endpoints can create and receive data from one another or more conventional computing environments. These things, Internet of Things, connected to the web greatly enhances user flexibility. Innovative early adopter businesses can differentiate themselves in the marketplace by embracing the Internet of Things and understanding how to use it to maximize convenience and value for their customers. And we're talking about value a lot in the show today, but this is really what it's about. It's not just, wow, gee whiz, that's cool. It's what Gartner's talking about at this forum is how organizations can use that to benefit themselves and to make the user experience better too, in terms of interacting with the web. Now, when it comes to big data, Lee Hong feels that CIOs should spend less time trying to understand the technological elements of it and kind of getting under the hood so much, and really spending more time figuring out innovative ways to wring value from the data itself. Now, by innovation, he's referring to new data sources and new data analytics that may require businesses to change the way they look at number crunching. So, okay, all that's well and good. So, but Dirk, now, what two words do you think you heard me use the most in those last two paragraphs? What the two words that you would most think?
Were you talking? Yeah. I was, I don't know, no, that's me. I don't know, I don't know.
Well, yeah, the and are probably right up there.
Those are really my words. Okay.
I can't put the words, but yes, but no. But besides that, besides the and, which I did use a lot, the words I use most often, or at least a lot, were value and innovation. Value and innovation. That's what the Gartner CIO Peer Forum is all about, and it's happening today. Again, right now, up in beautiful, balmy Canada. I'm sure it's at least 12 degrees. So if you're interested in learning more, check out the story and visit the Gartner website right down there, right below the player page.
Okay. Well, as we all know, it is really hard sometimes to hire top performers. Well, keeping them on board is proving to be an even greater worry for employers. According to a recent survey by Robert Half, they are the large staffing agency, nearly 4 in 10, or about 38%, of chief financial officers interviewed said retaining valuable employees is their biggest staffing concern for the next 12 months. And here's why. This is according to Paul McDonald, the senior executive director at Robert Half. Quotes, though general employment levels remain high, professionals with specialized skills have more opportunities available to them, which has led to talent shortages in some areas and made replacing employees even more difficult. So, how do you keep your brightest employees? Well, here are 5 suggestions, according to Half. First, maintain an open-door policy. Employees should feel comfortable voicing their ideas and concerns. Number 2, promote from within. Your staff is going to feel discouraged if they feel that advancement opportunities aren't available. So they want to feel like they're being chosen, they're at least being looked at first before you go outside the company. Provide competitive compensation.
Enough said there.
Enough said there. Recognize outstanding work. We've talked about this a lot. Sometimes work, money is important, work environment is important, but just being acknowledged for the work that you do sometimes goes a long way. People, when they do a good job, they want to be acknowledged that they have done a good job. And so saying thank you and praising individuals in front of their peers is really a quite powerful motivator. Number 5, offer professional development opportunities. Training programs help people expand their skills and boost productivity. You'll also gain versatility in your team. So these are all good ideas. One of the things that's also pointed out in the Robert Half survey is that there is the issue that there is such a need for good employees that kind of the subtext here is they're being hired away from companies where they already exist. There's kind of this headhunting that's always going on. And unless your employees are happy with where they're at, somebody can come along and hire them out from underneath you. And it isn't always just money. Somebody can come in and offer an employee more money, but if they're happy at where they're at, if their work environment is good, if they feel they're getting the pats on the back when they're deserved, that there's chance for promotion, simply offering them more money may not be enough to take them away. And that's really an important piece of information.
Yeah, common sense stuff, but I think that we always have to put the human element front and center in these things. And you have to remember that you've got to make your people feel welcome.
They've got to feel welcome.
And feel that they're embodied by the organization. So for more information on that story and all the stories we're going to cover in today's show, again, just check out the story links right below the player page or right down there.
There you go. Okay, well, as many of you know, Quality Digest is the media partner of the Coordinate Metrology Society. We do several news items about them throughout the year. We're their partner when we go to the CMS show, which is going to be in San Diego this year, the CMSC. As we've discussed on the show, over the years, the CMS has been working to develop an industry-recognized certification to the profession of portable 3D metrology. And now that is actually a reality. It is now possible. Last week, the organization announced, the CMS announced, that the examination for the industry's first Level 1 certification will be held at the 29th Annual Coordinate Metrology Systems Conference on July 22nd through 26th at the Sheraton San Diego Hotel and Marina. So here to tell us about Level 1 certification and its importance to industry is Randy Groover, the CMS Certification Committee Chair. Hello, Randy.
Hi, Dirk. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how's it going? So this is a big deal. Tell us, you guys have been working on this for quite a while, so tell us why an industry-recognized portable 3D metrology certification, that's a mouthful.
Wow, it is.
Why is that so important?
Well, we have dedicate a great level of resource to calibrating and certifying and accrediting our measurement hardwares and quantifying uncertainties and measuring traceable artifacts to make sure the data that we collect is as accurate as possible. However, one variable that's been overlooked historically has been that operator uncertainty. So this credential is a way for an operator to demonstrate that they abide by a code of ethics that the CMS has drafted and that they have met a peer review process and perform at an industry standard level.
Hey, Randy, you mentioned operator uncertainty, so that's a good point. Remind us a little bit about the measurement studies that the CMS did. I think you guys have done, 2 or 3 of them, that really pointed out why industry needed a certificate.
Yeah, over the past 3 years at the conferences, we've had measurement studies that have been, independent but a source of data to help support our effort as we've gone down this path or journey towards building these certifications. And we've gathered quite a bit of data from the 3 years of offering these hands-on measurement study opportunities for conference attendees. The data has clearly demonstrated that the uncertainty that can be induced by the operator is significant. As a case in point, the first year we did the study, we had micrometers and dial calipers and we're measuring gauge blocks, and we had up to 1 inch variation in some of the results from folks that were using.
And these are from people who are supposedly qualified metrologists, right?
Yeah, by and large, certainly folks associated with the industry.
Amazing. Well, Randy, let's turn this around a little bit and ask this maybe from the perspective of the companies, the manufacturers in the space, those that are in environments that are you know, large volume, close tolerance environments. What do those companies, those manufacturers, what are they asking for? Why do they feel a need, and what have you heard from them in terms of their needs for their personnel to be certified? What's the value for them in this?
You know, the value, well, the industry, just the proliferation of these portable 3D measurement systems and all the different applications are just growing at a rapid rate. A number of sectors, what comes to mind immediately would be the nuclear sector. You know, they require that the folks that are doing the data collection have some type of credentialing. If they don't, they provide competency testing prior to even having you successfully perform those measurement operations for their organization. So that the credentialing aspect is becoming ever more important on a regular basis for many sectors of the market that portable 3D metrology serves.
Hey, Randy, we had a question come in from a reader here, so let me, Christopher, if you can pop that up. Oh, this is fairly specific. I use a ferro arm as part of my job, so this is portable 3D metrology, obviously. How would this test or certification apply to me? And this is apparently an aerospace employee.
Yeah, boy, that was perfect. Very timely question. The level 1 core certification is general knowledge in portable 3D metrology of instruments, technologies, how environment impacts your data collection, real core kind of knowledge. The level 2 certification is going to be a hands-on performance-based assessment. Our first level 2 assessment is for portable coordinate measuring machines like the ferro arm. So that is being developed right now as we speak, and we're going to pilot that performance assessment in San Diego this year, which will be the level 2. There'll be a follow-on level 2 for laser trackers and scanners and et cetera.
So Randy, is this both a written test and a, what would you call it, a practical test, a hands-on test? I mean, describe what the certification test entails.
Great. The level 1 certification is a prerequisite for any level 2, and the level 1 certification is a web-delivered, multiple-choice, 200-question assessment that's given in a proctored environment, general core fundamental knowledge in portable 3D metrology. Upon successfully passing that assessment, and I should mention that an applicant, and you can apply at the cmsc.org website, an applicant goes through a peer review process, has to subscribe to our code of ethics, and then is scheduled for the assessment. So upon completion of the assessment, then you're certified as a level 1 metrologist. However, the level 2 certification in, for instance, the ferro arm would be the next step for the caller that sent in that note.
And I'm assuming that regardless of whether you guys happen to be testing, I guess, using a ferro arm, but basically if you use an arm, no matter who makes it, the test is going to be the same type of thing, I imagine. I mean, whether it's a ferro arm or a roamer or a whoever. Basically, it's how you set up and use an arm. Is that right?
Yeah, great question. And we met at a workshop 2 weeks ago in St. Louis, had 23 representatives at the table for 3 days. And these were folks that were the arm manufacturers and the software manufacturers, service providers, and academia, and even standards labs. We all came together, spent 3 days crafting this performance-based assessment for arms, and the intent was to make it as neutral as possible to the brand of arm or brand of software that you were using.
Okay. Randy, we're just about out of time here, so tell us where do people go now to take this test, and how much does it cost? Just real briefly here.
Okay, to apply for sitting for the examination would be cmsc.org. Very bottom of the homepage, there's a button that says apply for certification. Then there are a number of links within there that link you to all the forms and all that guide you through the application process.
All right, thank you. And they'll be able to take that test down in San Diego, or the practical test down in San Diego. Is that right?
Yeah, the cognitive assessment, the level 1 assessment, will be offered in San Diego, and we're also planning on offering it naturally each year at the conference. But we're also working on a plan right now to make it geographically available around the country in a proctored environment, as well as internationally.
Okay. Well, Randy, thanks for joining us on the show here. As Randy said, if you want more information on the certification, go to cmsc.org. And I believe Randy said down at the bottom there is a link that, or a button you can push that will take you out to get information on the certification. Randy, thanks for joining us.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dirk.
Okay, so long.
Thanks, Randy. Good. All right. Yeah. Hey, we're looking forward to that in San Diego.
Yeah, coming up.
Always a good show in CMSC if you've ever checked it out.
It's a fun show.
It's a fun show. If you're in any of these environments, certainly aerospace, automotive,
large scale 3D measurement.
Yeah. No, definitely check that out. San Diego, hey, nice venue.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
There you go. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to turn to another feature article we ran this week, or one of the feature articles we ran this week, by our very own Ryan Day, called Six Sigma, Hero or Zero. Another one of these great titles. Love Ryan. Ryan's a great guy, and Ryan always has an interesting perspective. And what I like about Ryan is he comes to it with very fresh eyes. He comes to it with a different perspective that a lot of us appreciate. And there's ways to take that, and Ryan always wants to kind of stir it up a little bit and make you look at things differently. Well, in this case, Ryan, he's an accomplished writer and editor. He's a social media maven, but in his past life, what he did was he built stuff. He built stuff. He had a lot of jobs in manufacturing, and he, at the beginning, as many of us at the beginning of our careers when we're young and eager, he wanted to deliver the highest possible value at all costs. He always wanted to deliver high value. High quality, with kind of regardless of anything else, any other factors. Well, slowly, as he began to see and be shown, more pertinently, that quality in and of itself is not always king, the goal then kind of shifted in his mind a little bit. So it wasn't so much to deliver quality, although it was, but really the end game here is to deliver value. And quality is a part of value, but I think that quality in and of itself maybe can derail ourselves from delivering value. And it's kind of a compelling point, and it's simple, and it's powerful, I think, really, because quality doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? Quality is a part of a much larger thing, because it really starts with customer value, right? Customer perception of value is really the first thing. Then quality and the cost of quality. What I mean by the cost of quality, of course, is not really the cost to deliver good quality, but the negative costs if you deliver poor quality, the cost of rework and waste and time and waiting, all that stuff, and much less your bad reputation if you deliver poor quality. So all those things factor into value, really, when you ultimately come down to it. But quality in and of itself isn't the end goal, isn't the game. And many of us, and Ryan certainly in his career, I think began with that idea that quality in and of itself was valid.
Well, and this is what's interesting. And I've known a lot of people like Ryan, who are people who work on the production floor, who are just really, they're craftsmen, and they want everything that they do to be perfect, which you really want. And he mentions in the story that it was his boss who kind of had to, like, Ryan, like, dude, I mean, glad you want to be perfect, but you're killing me here.
Again, the end game isn't quality in and of itself.
Right.
It's value, because if you don't understand quality within the larger context of value, then what does quality become? Quality, independent of that, is a cost center.
Right.
And almost nothing else but a cost center. I mean, it's great. We all want to do perfect work if we can, but he uses the example in his piece about ball bearings. You can have ball bearings with a 20,000 RPM, turbine, or you can have it for a bike,
for
right?
a cruiser, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
It's like there's a little difference there in terms of you don't want necessarily a perfect ball bearing that you have to spend 10 times the cost for your bike, right? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. We had a comment here, which I want to get to. I want to show on the screen. Kind of a lengthy comment from Rip Stauffer, and Rip writes for us a lot, and he comments often on his articles. And Rip always has very pertinent comments, and I thought this one was really right on the money. It's a little lengthy, so bear with me as I read it to you. Ripstoffer writes, customer perception should dictate everything. Walter Schuhart wrote a paper in which he, among other things, introduced the concept of operational definitions. In that same paper, he articulated a definition of quality that I found to be very useful over the years. He basically said that any given thing has three types of quality. Type 1, that quality which characterizes the thing itself, independent of all other things and of human volition and interest. Type 2, that quality which characterizes the thing A in its relation to another thing B as a part of a whole and independent of human volition and interest. And finally, type 3, that quality which makes a thing desirable by someone or more persons. In manufacturing, we can control types 1 and 2. We have to rely on marketing and design to get customers to give us clues into type 3, then translate them into types 1 and 2. That translation is what we should be all about. That's exactly what Ryan's saying here. Right. Yes, on the production floor, it's about quality, but you need to understand the other elements of the business to understand how you're going to deliver value here. The other thing that Rip mentioned, I didn't quote it because it was a lengthy quote, but Rip also talks about use the example of the Japanese auto industry in the 1970s, where U.S. manufacturers thought that they were cheating, because how can they deliver that much quality for that price point? At that point, U.S. manufacturing in the auto industry still equated quality with cost. They didn't understand that it was really about waste. It was about reducing waste, and that's how they could deliver that value, was by reducing their waste and reducing their cost. So they didn't cheat in any way. They just made sure that they drove the waste out of their system. And we know, I mean, Japan after the war had to be very efficient, and America really didn't. And that's where we kind of started seeing the divergence here between, especially in the auto industry, between Japanese and American quality of automobiles. Something that came to me with the story, and I think, is that there's really a fine line between what we all want to do, which is we want to unexpectedly delight our customers. But there's a fine line between unexpectedly delighting your customers and unnecessarily over-delivering on quality. Because ultimately, if you over-deliver on quality, right, if you deliver too much quality above and beyond what's necessary, there's going to be a cost there. Now, you may not pass that cost on to your customer overtly. You may still charge the same price, but ultimately the customer is going to pay. They're going to pay in some way. Right. They're either going to not get the quality. You're going to start cutting corners, or perhaps you're going to have burdensome costs in your own system. You may go out of business. You may have to lay people off. I mean, the cost is going to be there in some way, shape, or form if you over-deliver on the necessary quality.
Right, and talking about cost, I mean, there's been a lot of studies done on this, is that there is a certain amount of quality expectation per price. And you can start increasing the price and increasing the quality to a point, and depending on the product, there is a point where it doesn't make sense to increase quality anymore, because at that point nobody's willing to pay for it.
Right.
So I mean, you can buy a throwaway $40 DVD player. That's fine. You can make a $120 DVD player, which is better quality, lasts longer. That's fine. If you start trying to sell a $500 really awesome DVD player, you're probably not going to have much of a market for it. So there's a point at where just the extra quality that goes into it, there's just no perceived value. Why should I pay $120 for a DVD player that I use once a week when I can get a $40 DVD player, right? I mean, it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense. However, if I'm one who I watch movies every night, and I've got a home projection system, $120 or a $250 DVD player might make sense, but that's a smaller market. And that's always that trade-off, is finding where that little balance point is between increased quality and cost and what the customer is willing to pay for that increased quality.
I think this is why it's so necessary for production to be tied in very closely with the other elements of the industry.
Sure.
Marketing, sales, because you need to understand that. And everybody in production wants to do, like you mentioned, everybody wants to do the best possible job they can. They want to deliver ultimate quality if you can. It just isn't always necessary. And if you do go overboard on that, ultimately the value is not going to be there. The costs are going to be there somewhere, somehow. So moral of the story here is, quality can never, ever, ever be untethered to value. And I think many of us understand that, but sometimes we need to be reminded too. And I think that's a really valid point.
Before we wrap up, this is kind of sad thing to talk about, but we were talking about big data earlier. One of the fascinating stories I heard this morning. Now, if you're watching the show live, then you know this is just a few days after the tragedy with the Boston Marathon.
Still unfolding.
Still unfolding. One of the fascinating things that came out of that is how they found the suspects, and it was using it was analyzing terabytes of photographic and video data that was sent into the authorities. And there was a company that, and I can't remember the company, there was a company that was doing this, and basically a certain amount of automation that allowed them to go through, do facial recognition or clothing recognition, that kind of thing, to really help narrow down the suspects in this. And I was just fascinated by that, because this is a case where you have, as I said, terabytes of video and photographic data to go through, an almost impossible job if it was to be done 20 years ago by somebody.
Even 20 years ago.
Even 20 years ago would have been an almost impossible job. Within days, they had suspects. And it's just absolutely incredible what's going on with data analysis.
And you ain't seen nothing yet, folks. Wait another 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's amazing. I mean, it can be scary. There's elements to this that are scary, and I think that all of us need to be mindful of it in terms of privacy. But in a case like this, where obviously, well, I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions. It's pretty obvious that there were perpetrators that need to be brought to justice pretty quickly on this. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, within a couple of days, it's like, oh,
geez. Great stuff.
Okay, well, we're out of time here. So anyway, thank you for joining us for today's show. As usual, if you have any questions during the show, after the show, whenever, go ahead and send them to qdl@qualitydigest.com. We'll try to get them on the show as we can. And we're glad you joined us today.
Yeah, thank you to Randy Gruber for joining us today as well, of Coordinate Metrology Society, and telling us about their level 1 certification, and that's good stuff there. So thank you, Randy. And thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you then.
So long.
Fire.